Hey everyone, Vale here, and today we're back with our final video of this week's series all about the top 10 best champions to main for each role going into Season 12. Today's final video is all about the role of support. As always, remember that this is a matter of opinion and there will be champions that you guys love to play that didn't quite make this list, but as you know, it's very difficult to narrow it down to only 10 champions. Anyway, let's dive straight into it, and first off we're going to be talking about Nami. So Nami has flooded the Summoner's Rift hard in the last season and has been top tier for a while now. Nami is absolutely fantastic at the moment, and when she's paired with the right marksman, she can cause waves of wins in your match history. Nami's E is probably one of the best support abilities in the game in those early levels, as it gives your fellow bot laner so much burst and easily helps her have one of the best level 2 and level 3 power spikes in the bot lane. You can cause such a commotion when you get a lead and easily snowball you on an AD carry insanely quickly. Nami will always be useful though, even if she does get a bit behind, just due to her kit in general. So if you are struggling in lane, the consequences won't even be too rough aside from being a little bit squishy. Nami works very well into pretty much all team compositions and doesn't have too many poor matchups either, making her a very sophisticated pick in any draft. Nami also offers a huge amount of AoE CC potential, making her super useful in all stages of the game. The world is your oyster and it's Season 12, so why not add this support to your champion pool and chase those ranked promotions? However, if Nami isn't for you, there is plenty more on this list, whatever floats your boat. Enough of the puns now. Next up on our list we've got Blitzcrank, and he's been absolutely thriving this pre-season. Blitzcrank has always struggled when facing tons of CC heavy frontlining supports, and he will always have a more difficult time against those champions. But right now, there are so many enchanters and squishy mages in that bottom lane, meaning he can punish them so much easier. Blitzcrank has always been known to either be one of the best carry supports in the game, or complete the opposite, depending on if he lands those hooks or not. Blitzcrank's hook is easily his defining ability, and it really comes down to his effectiveness and his impact. One good hook is all it takes to start snowballing and start popping off in the lane phase. A few more hooks in lane and you can genuinely farm your opposition and get insanely fed. A roam with another good hook means you can sway other lanes too and get them snowballing as well. In the mid to late game, yet another good hook means a one team fight, a secured objective and a sealed victory. This champion's impact is undeniable, but just make sure you land those hooks. Next up we've got Bard, and honestly he has fallen off the radar a little bit in the last few months, but we couldn't not include him on this list purely because of just how incredibly fun he is to play. Bard's impact as a support is very dependent on the player behind him. A passive Bard is really not going to do too much, especially when compared to another support with either A, tons of engage and CC, or B, lots of heavy peel and healing. Bard is kind of a jack of all trades and a unique support that requires some creative thinking and gameplay to actually be effective. However, if you understand these things, then he can arguably be more impactful than any other support in the right pair of hands. Bard's ability to roam is one of the best in the game with his magical journey, granting him so much mobility and unconventional ganking paths, and his ultimate can easily save or sway any skirmish or fight, no matter how bad it looks before you get there. Bard is never going to get the most out of his game by sitting in lane and watching his AD carry farm, and is more adept at causing havoc across the board. He can set up ganks incredibly well too though, so if your jungler does want some free kills, ult your enemies and portal you and your allies right to them for free kills. Throughout the game, Bard's utility is either pretty useless or completely overpowered depending on the player's use of his kit. Bard's kit can easily win games by using those key abilities at the right moments, and this is why we simply couldn't leave him out of this list, despite him not being as popular recently. On the other side of the scale we've got Pyke, and he is definitely a popular choice across the board at the moment. Pyke is the ultimate support who really doesn't play like a support at all. It's his job to take kills, execute his opponents, and roam around the battlefield like he's trying to win the Olympics. His damage, catch potential, irritating mobility and CC make him a stupidly hard champion to deal with once he gets ahead, and this makes him very potent at carrying games and influencing the outcomes. Pyke's strengths in lane stem from his pick potential with his Q, his early aggression possibilities with his E flash, and generally just his damage and his burst. Once he's got his ultimate though, he just turns into an absolute monster. His ability to execute his enemies time and time again with the resets makes him a pentakill machine, and he's definitely one of the highest damaging supports in those certain teamfights. Remember though that if you are playing Pyke, you're going to have to play pretty selfish, as it's primarily your job to use your lead to carry. Pyke is going to offer very little peel or defensive capability for his marksman, so it's a very go hard or go home playstyle. If that sounds like your kind of champion, why not pick him up and get ready for Season 12. Next up we've got Lux, and it's nuts how strong this champion has been since her buffs towards the end of Season 11. Lux has been doing super well in both the mid lane and support, and honestly despite her recent nerfs she's still popping off and more than capable of being a top pick in both of these roles going into Season 12. Lux has always been one of the most popular champions in League of Legends, and a lot of that comes down to just how fun she is to play, as there's something so special at landing a big laser. In lane, Lux can harass and bully her opponents with her EQ and auto attacks to proc her passive, and a shield also comes very much in handy in those early 2v2s. Her strength in lane comes down to just how much she can abuse this whilst avoiding incoming attacks and abilities too, and then once she hits level 6 she can add a huge extra edge to her multiple target burst. If you pair Lux with a high burst and decent ranged AD carry like Jhin or Ezreal, and you can easily slap that enemy bot lane. Lux's ability to pop targets with her combo starts off pretty strong, but it only gets better as the game progresses, and if she manages to snowball early on and stack up that Magi's, the damage this champion can deal from the support role is way too much to ignore. Lux's damage and catch potential stays insanely effective right from the get-go into all stages of any game, and if your enemy doesn't have a cleanse or a stopwatch, with the right items you'll just repeatedly one-shot them. If you enjoy taking games into your own hands as a support and dealing the damage you need to win those games, Lux is a fantastic pick and should definitely be on your mind for Season 12. Next up on the support list we've got Lulu, and she is arguably one of the best champions in the game at the moment. Since Lulu's arrival, she's basically always been present in the game due to just her amazing utility and the quality of her kit design. Lulu thrives most in the meta though when hyper carries are at their peak, and this is exactly why she's so strong at the moment. Vayne, Jinx and Kog'Maw are all in fantastic spots going into the new season, and this just makes Lulu infinitely more viable. Lulu's ability to peel, buff and keep those AD carries alive are simply what makes her so unbelievably effective in any game, but especially so in the current game state. Lulu isn't just built for her peeling though. In the lane phase she can easily win lanes by poking with her range, her E and Q combo, and even disrupting any attempts from enemies to fight with her polymorph. When paired with the right AD carry, Lulu can easily win lanes and make the rest of the game nearly impossible for any of her opponents with her amazingly useful kit design. If you're looking for Mrs. Consistent from that support role, Lulu is definitely a great choice. Next up on the list we've got Sona, and she's just so powerful and people just don't seem to play her enough. Sona's laning is just so ridiculously strong right now. The poke and sustain just seem to be so difficult to play against, and it's very hard to come out on top, especially the longer the fights go on. The only way to really beat Sona is with pure burst and playing that burst perfectly. If she survives, you're gonna hard lose the lane. Sona also brings an incredible AoE crowd controlling ultimate to the table which can easily win games by itself when used optimally. Throughout any game, Sona only ever gets stronger. Both her heals and her damage become more potent, and if you ever find yourself in a siege with or against her, she usually comes out on top. If you do try and actually prevent her from doing this, she can easily disengage with her movement speed boosts and her ultimate. Now Sona may not seem like the big powerhouse carry support like some other champions, but her impact and influence on the games is second to none, and that's why she's got such a great win rate right now. Definitely a great pick, especially if you do trust your AD carry to bring the thunder. Leona is next on the list, and she is a real classic crowd controlling, engaging support with tons of ways to initiate and set up fights for her team. Leona is someone who can really take charge of a game and take it into her own hands. She's not the kind of champion you want to sit back and farm up on. You want to chase those experience advantages and look to punish your enemies by playing aggressively and all-inning whenever you can. Leona's level 2 and level 3 all-ins are some of the strongest in that bottom lane, and this can easily turn into a huge advantage and you can basically just run away with the game. Leona's teamfight strengths are also not to be underestimated either. She has relentless stuns on a very short cooldown and can change the entire game with one good ultimate. Leona's ability to constantly lock down multiple threats in teamfights makes her such an effective support throughout all stages of the game, and she can easily cause enough impact to make you consider maining her for a long time. Picking Leona with certain AD carries also makes her that much more special. Miss Fortune and Leona is the obvious choice as their ultimate synergy is just too good to pass up on, but any other AD carry with good follow-up burst is ideal to play with Leona. Next up, we've got the support with actually one of the highest ban rates in low reloads, and that's going to be Morgana. This champion is just such a safe pick to play as she works so well into almost all team compositions with most marksmen and against most matchups too. Morgana is known for her relentless crowd control, her pick potential, and actually her damage too, but what really makes this champion stand out is, yes, her spell shield. All this time and all these years later, this ability is just as good as ever, and it can really make the difference in infinite amounts of circumstances. If you're playing against a lane with punishing crowd control, it only makes Morgana even more of a better pick. Throughout the game, Morgana's kit has simply so much to offer. One of her main playstyles is making picks with her binding and setting up those enemies to get picked off one by one. Alternatively, Morgana works very well in full-on 5v5s and teamfights with her ability to run into a team, pop her ultimate, and then activate her Zhonya's. This is an amazing way to get stuck in, lock down an entire enemy team, and deal a ton of damage at the same time. Morgana's impact in games is pretty undeniable, and when paired with the right marksman like Caitlyn who can abuse her strengths even further, you're going to have a super fun time going into Season 12. Last on the list today, we have one of the funnest champions in the support role and arguably in the entire game, Thresh. Now, despite Thresh not being as popular recently, he's just one of those champions that we simply couldn't resist adding to this list. A good Thresh player makes him viable no matter what, and his ability to outplay his opponents is still just as strong as ever when played by the right person. Thresh offers amazing catch potential, AoE crowd control, peeling, and even one of the most unique support abilities in the game in his Lantern. A good Thresh can save his teammates from the most horrific circumstances with one good W, and this is more than enough reason alone to love this champion. As we mentioned earlier, preseason hasn't actually been too kind on Thresh as nothing new for him really came along, but that doesn't actually have to be a bad thing. Thresh is pretty underestimated at the moment, meaning not many players are actually considering banning him or even picking him, which is going to allow you to turn into that glorious Thresh one trick that we all wish we could be. Thresh's ability to lock down his enemies, turn around teamfights, and win games with his disruptive kit are more than enough reason to keep this champion around for Season 12, so make sure you don't forget about him or you may just regret it. So that's going to finish off our top 10 best champions to main in Season 12 video today, all about the support role. It also concludes this video series which we have covered every single role in this week. We sincerely hope you guys enjoyed these videos and feel free to let us know what you would like to see from us next. Happy New Year from all of us in the Mobalytics video and social team, and we'll see you all again next time. That's it from me, Vale, and as always, take care.